The road dust still clings to my boots as I push open the heavy oak door. The warmth of the inn rushes out to greet me, a welcome relief from the evening chill. My eyes take a moment to adjust to the dim, smoky air, thick with the smell of roasting meat, spilled ale, and damp wool. The common room is a chaotic symphony of life. Laughter and rowdy songs mix with the clatter of wooden tankards on rough-hewn tables. In the corner, a minstrel coaxes a lively tune from his lute, though most patrons are too lost in their own conversations to notice. The fire in the great hearth crackles and spits, casting dancing shadows on the faces of weary travelers and boisterous locals. I find an empty stool, slide my pack underneath, and finally feel the long day's journey melt away. This is what it's all about. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe for more journeys back in time. You push the heavy wooden door open, and the inn spills out to meet you. It's a wave of noise, heat, and the smell of smoke, sweat, and spilled ale. Merchants are huddled at tables, trading rumors as eagerly as they trade goods. Pilgrims mutter prayers into their cups, their faces etched with the road's fatigue. The locals just watch, their eyes silently judging whether you're a friend or a threat. You shift your pack. It suddenly feels heavier now that you've stopped walking. Your body, alert all day, begins to remember it can rest, but sleep won't come easy in a place like this. A historical fact surfaces. Medieval inns weren't standardized. There was no guarantee of safety or cleanliness. Travelers often chose routes based on which inns had the fewest lice, knowledge passed by word of mouth. You're not just finding a bed for the night. You're taking a gamble. Faces appear and disappear as people lean forward, then back again. No one stares for long. Prolonged attention would be rude or worse, suspicious. Crossing the threshold of a medieval inn was more than stepping indoors. It was a social signal. Historians widely agree that once you entered, you were expected to participate, at least minimally. Sitting alone in silence marked you as either dangerous or unwell. Neither was desirable, so you keep moving, scanning for a place where you might blend rather than stand out. Your boots leave faint marks in the dirt floor. The ground is uneven, worn down by generations of feet. In some areas, it feels almost polished. In others, soft and slightly damp. Medieval inns rarely had wooden floors in their main rooms. Wood was expensive, and dirt was easier to repair. Just smooth it over, scatter fresh rushes if available, and pretend yesterday never happened. The smell grows stronger as you pass the tables. Ale is everywhere. Not the crisp, clean scent you might imagine, but something sour and sweet at the same time. This is normal. Medieval ale spoiled quickly and was often consumed within days. It was safer than water in many towns, which is a mainstream historical fact people still find hard to accept. You wrinkle your nose, then relax it. Complaining would achieve nothing. Someone bumps your elbow. There is no apology. Only a quick glance and a nod. That is enough. Space is negotiated physically here, not verbally. You adjust your pack again and tuck it closer to your body. Theft was not guaranteed in inns, but it was always possible. Historians still argue whether inns were safer than sleeping outdoors or simply concentrated risk into a smaller space. Near one wall, you notice a long bench pushed beneath a narrow window. The glass is thick and uneven, likely imported at great cost. That tells you something about this place. It is not the poorest inn on the road, Someone invested in it. Someone believed travelers would pay for even a small improvement in comfort. A fringe detail floats into your mind. Some inns kept a bell near the door, rung whenever a new guest entered, both to alert the innkeeper and to discourage thieves by making arrivals public. This one has no bell. Either it was lost or no one bothered. You suspect the latter. You finally spot the innkeeper. Or rather, you identify them by behavior. They are not the loudest or the most central, but the room subtly bends around them. A middle-aged figure stands near a small counter. Hands never still. Coins are taken. Cups are filled. Words are exchanged quickly, efficiently. Reputation matters here. An innkeeper who cheated too openly would not last long. Travelers talked. Locals remembered. You wait. That is another lesson. You wait your turn. Leaning against a beam darkened by years of smoke. The wood is warm to the touch. That warmth feels like kindness, even if it is accidental. Ever wonder what it was like to stay at an inn back in medieval times? Forget five-star hotels. We're talking creaky floorboards, flickering candlelight, and the smell of roasting meat wafting up from the tavern below. I recently got to experience something just like that. As I pushed open the heavy oak door, the warmth and rowdy laughter of the common room hit me instantly. My room was simple, with a rough-hewn wooden bed and a single window overlooking a cobbled courtyard. There was no room service, just a hearty stew and a tankard of ale shared with fellow travelers, each with a story to tell. It was rustic, it was raw, and honestly, it was one of the most immersive travel experiences I've ever had. It felt like stepping right into a history book. What do you think? Could you handle a night in a medieval inn? Let me know in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe for more adventures. Tied to a beam overhead is a worn horseshoe blackened by smoke. Some believe it is for luck. Others say it marks the inn as honest. A quiet signal to travelers who know what to look for. There is no clear agreement, and written records are frustratingly vague. Still, the horseshoe hangs there, unbothered by debate, quietly observing the room. You shift again, trying to find a position that will not send a sharp ache through your hips later. Your body is tired in a deep way, the kind that settles into bone. The bench does not care, neither does the table. Furniture here is not designed for comfort, but for endurance. It must survive spills, boots, weight, and time. So must you. The fire crackles louder for a moment, drawing your attention. Someone tosses on another piece of wood. Sparks leap up, then vanish into the dark rafters. The warmth spreads unevenly, blessing those closest to the hearth, while leaving others to huddle deeper into their clothing. You are somewhere in between, warm one side, cool on the other. That imbalance keeps you awake. Food arrives next. Set down in the middle of the table, a thick stew heavy with grains and whatever meat was available. No individual bowls, just spoons, dipping and withdrawing in turn. You hesitate for a heartbeat, then join in. Shared food is expected. Refusing it would be awkward at best, insulting at worst. You scoop carefully, avoiding the center where someone else's spoon has already stirred too often. The taste is simple and filling. Salt, fat, heat, enough to quiet hunger without delighting it. Meals like this were designed to sustain, not impress. Many travelers depended on inns for their largest meal of the day, knowing the road offered little else. As you eat, warmth spreads through your chest, loosening muscles you did not realize were clenched. Someone across from you begins to sing. Not well. Not terribly either. Just loud enough to draw groans and a few half-hearted harmonies. The song is familiar to several people at the table, which surprises you. Tunes traveled easily in a world without printed music, carried by voices from inn to inn. A melody learned here might surface weeks later in a town far away, changed but recognizable. The room grows hazier as smoke thickens. Your eyes sting slightly. You blink and rub them, smearing a bit of grime across your knuckle. Chimneys existed, but they were imperfect, and smoke often lingered where it pleased. People accepted this as normal. Chronic coughing was common. Some medical writers of the time even blamed smoky interiors for a range of illnesses, though no clear solutions followed. You lean back for a moment, listening rather than watching. The soundscape shifts subtly as the evening deepens. Conversation slow. Laughter becomes heavier, less sharp. Cups are refilled less often. Fatigue settles in waves. Some modern historians suggest that violence in inns was less common than popular imagination claims, while others point to court records that tell a harsher story. The truth likely lives somewhere in between, shaped by location and circumstance. The fire crackles in the hearth, casting long dancing shadows across the rough-hewn wooden beams. The air is thick with the smell of roasting meat, spilled ale, and damp wool. Around me, the common room of this old inn buzzes with life. A group of merchants in the corner haggles over prices in hushed, urgent tones, their faces illuminated by a single flickering candle. The innkeeper, a man with a beard as hearty as his laugh, moves between tables, refilling tankards with a practiced hand. At a nearby table, a minstrel softly strums a lute, his melody weaving through the din of conversation. This isn't just a place to rest for the night. It's a living, breathing cross-section of the world, where stories are traded as freely as coin. I pull my cloak tighter, take another sip of warm cider, and just soak it all in. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe for more journeys back in time. Annoyance risks memory. Memory matters here. A smaller coin slides across the counter. This one earns you a blanket. Thick and rough, smelling of smoke and old wool. Blankets like this were valuable. Many travelers carried their own for this reason. Tonight, you will borrow one that has warmed many strangers before you. As you turn away, you notice another exchange happening beside you. A man presses down a larger stack of coins. The innkeeper responds differently this time, lifting a finger and pointing toward a narrow stair at the back. A private chamber, or as private as anything gets here. That option exists, but only for those who can afford it. Even then, privacy is relative. Walls are thin, locks are unreliable, silence is never guaranteed. There is a persistent myth that most medieval inns offered individual rooms as a standard. Surviving building plans and travel accounts suggest otherwise. Shared sleeping spaces were far more common, especially outside major towns. Separate rooms existed, but they were limited and expensive. Many travelers accepted communal sleeping as simply part of the journey. You carry your blanket to the indicated spot. The straw crunches softly beneath your weight as you test it with your foot. Dry mostly. That is good. Wet straw is a misery you do not want to imagine. Some inns refresh their straw regularly. Others waited far too long. The smell tells you which kind this place is. You exhale, relieved. This one has made an effort. A strange custom flickers into your thoughts. In certain regions, travelers were expected to shake out straw themselves before settling, partly to remove pests, partly as a gesture of self-reliance. Whether this was widely practiced or simply advised in manuals is unclear. Either way, you kick lightly at the straw now, just in case. You lay your pack against the wall and sit down carefully. The floor is cold through your clothing. Stone or packed earth does not forgive. You spread the blanket over your legs and feel immediate relief as warmth gathers beneath it. Your body responds eagerly, already preparing to surrender. Nearby, others are doing the same. Someone mutters a prayer under their breath before lying down. Someone else sighed deeply, the sound long and unguarded. These small rituals repeat themselves night after night, unseen and unrecorded. The innkeeper passes once more, pausing to adjust a lamp. The light dims slightly. This is intentional. Too much light invites wakefulness. Too little invites trouble. Finding the balance is part of the job. You realize something quietly important. Payment here is not just about money. It is about belonging, however briefly. Once paid, you are no longer an outsider hovering near the door. You are a guest. Temporary, replaceable, but acknowledged. There were travelers who tried to sleep without paying, slipping into corners unnoticed. Court cases suggest this was risky. If discovered, the consequences ranged from expulsion to public punishment. Inns relied on trust, but they defended it fiercely. Your eyes follow the movement of the man who paid for the private chamber. He climbs the stairs slowly, hand on the wall. You wonder if his rest will truly be better than yours. Solitude can be its own discomfort. The room settles again. The negotiation phase of the night is ending. Everyone knows where they stand now, literally and figuratively. The fire burns low. Voices soften. You lie back fully for the first time, spine meeting the ground. It is not comfortable, but it is rest.
The road has taught your body to accept this difference. Payment has been made. The bargain is complete. All that remains is to endure the night. The food comes late. After payment, after decisions have settled into place, this is deliberate. Hunger sharpens patience. A fed traveler is quieter, easier to manage, less likely to argue over space or warmth. You understand this instinctively as the smell drifts toward you. Thick and grounding, cutting through smoke and sweat with surprising authority. A pot is lifted from the hearth and set near the table. Steam rises slowly, carrying the scent of grains and fat. No announcement follows. People simply notice, one by one, like animals sensing rain. You push yourself up, blanket sliding from your legs, and join the slow movement toward the food. There are no plates, just bowls that have seen better years and spoons worn thin at the edges. You take one without ceremony. The stew is ladled out generously, though not lavishly. The innkeeper controls portions with a practiced eye. Too much, and the pot empties early. Too little, and complaints begin. Balance is everything. Meals like this were the backbone of travel. Many inns provided only one hot dish per evening, designed to satisfy rather than impress. Written household accounts from the period suggest these stews relied heavily on whatever was cheapest and most available. Barley, peas, onions, scraps of meat. Flavor came from salt more than spice. You taste it now. Simple, heavy, comforting in its honesty. You sit back down with your bowl, steam warming your face. The first mouthful spreads heat through your chest. You had not realized how chilled you were until this moment. The food does more than fill your stomach. It signals safety, however temporary. Eating indoors, among others, marks a pause in vigilance. Around you, conversation resumes in softer tones. Eating slows speech. People listen more. A merchant explains a delay at a river crossing. Spoon pausing midder as he emphasizes a point. Someone else nods, chewing thoughtfully. These exchanges matter. Knowledge shared over food tends to stick. A lesser-known habit surfaces here. In some inns, travelers were expected to bring their own utensils. This place provides them, but not all did. Forgetting a spoon could mean eating with bread or fingers, which was common enough not to shock anyone. Cleanliness was relative. What mattered was participation. You notice how carefully people guard their bowls, not out of greed, but out of instinct. Food is precious, even in a room full of it. No one assumes abundance will last. There is an unspoken rhythm to the eating. Take, pause, swallow, wait. This keeps the pot moving smoothly without drawing attention. Someone nearby complains quietly about the meat being tough. Another person shrugs. Meat was often older or preserved in ways that modern taste would reject. Still, it provided calories and warmth. For many, that was enough. There is a persistent question among modern researchers about whether inn food was generally worse than household fare. Some argue it was inferior, stretched thin for profit.
Others suggest it was comparable to what most people ate daily. Judging by the lack of outrage around you, this stew meets expectations. As you eat, you feel the room change again. The sharp edges soften. Even the fire seems gentler now. Its crackling less demanding. You slow your pace deliberately, letting the warmth spread fully. Sleep creeps closer, encouraged by a full stomach and the steady hum of voices. A strange detail catches your attention. A child appears briefly near the hearth, carrying a small bowl, too young to be a guest, too comfortable to be out of place, likely part of the innkeeper's family. Children in inns learned early how to navigate strangers. They absorbed languages in teen and stories without effort. Some grew into travelers themselves. Others stayed, inheriting the trade. The bowl in your hands empties sooner than you expect. You consider reaching for more, then decide against it. Taking too much risks notice. Moderation keeps you invisible, and invisibility is a form of safety. You return the bowl to a stack near the counter. No washing. That will come later, or perhaps not at all. Water is saved for drinking, not dishes. Smoke and heat do what they can. Back at your spot, you pull the blanket around you again. Your body feels heavier now. Limbs sinking into the straw. The bench and floor feel less hostile. The ache in your legs dulls into something manageable around you. The final stages of eating play out. Spoons clink softly. Someone wipes their mouth with a sleeve. A prayer is murmured. Another person stretches. Joints cracking audibly. The meal has done its work. This is the turning point of the night. After this, there will be no more arrivals of significance, no more negotiations, just endurance. Food in a medieval inn was not about pleasure. It was about survival and social glue. Sharing it bound strangers together for a few hours, reminding them they were human before returning them to the road. You lie back fully now, eyes half closed, listening to the fading clatter of bowls. The warmth in your stomach spreads outward, lulling your thoughts. Sleep is not here yet, but it is closer than it was. As the bowls disappear and hands retreat back into sleeves, you become more aware of the people around you, not as noise, but as presence. Faces glow briefly in firelight, then sink back into shadow. Everyone looks slightly softened now, rounded by food and fatigue. This is when conversations change. Less business, more confession. You shift your position again, easing pressure from one hip to the other. The straw rustles quietly. Someone nearby grunts in acknowledgement, not annoyed, just aware. Space is negotiated through sound and movement rather than words. You learn quickly how to exist without demanding. A man across from you leans forward, elbows on knees, and begins to speak about a shrine he visited weeks ago. His voice is calm, steady, carrying the practiced rhythm of someone who has told this story before. Others listen without interruption. Pilgrims often traded stories as much as prayers, and inns were the places where routes intersected. What you hear here may shape your own path tomorrow. You notice the way people identify themselves, not by name at all, but by origin, a town, a region, a river. Identity travels with geography. Knowing where someone comes from tells you what they eat, how they speak, and sometimes what they fear. You file this away, instinctively mirroring the habit. A woman beside you speaks next, describing a market where prices doubled overnight after a poor harvest. Her voice carries a quiet anger, but also resignation. Such fluctuations were common, and news of them mattered deeply to anyone moving goods. Inns served as informal economic censors, long before numbers were written down. There is an odd intimacy in this exchange. None of you may meet again, yet stories spill freely. It was about pause, a momentary suspension of movement, danger, and choice. You sink deeper into that pause. Sleep does not arrive all at once. It seeps in. Warmth settles unevenly through the room, and you begin to understand how closely heat is tied to status here. Those nearest the hearth have claimed their advantage early, arranging themselves with practiced efficiency. Others, like you, accept the compromise of partial warmth and partial chill. The fire does not reach everyone equally, and it never has. You pull the blanket tighter around your shoulders and feel the rough wool scrape gently against your neck. It smells of smoke and old nights. That smell is not unpleasant. It carries the quiet reassurance that this fabric has done its job before. Many times heat in a medieval inn is never abstract. It is physical, contested, and constantly shifting. The fire itself is modest now, not roaring, but steady. Large fires were dangerous. Sparks could leap. Beams overhead were dry. Entire inns had vanished because someone fed the flames too eagerly. Careful control mattered more than comfort. Accounts from the period describe innkeepers who woke hourly to check embers long after guests slept. Whether that happened every night is unclear, but the fear behind it was real. You notice how people orient themselves in sleep, feet toward the fire, backs to the wall, faces turned inward. These positions are not random. They are learned over years of cold nights. Bodies arrange themselves to trap warmth, to shield faces from drafts, to avoid sudden contact with strangers shifting nearby. The heat comes in waves. When someone adds wood, warmth blooms briefly, then fades. Each addition feels like a small gift. You time your breathing to it without meaning to, inhaling more deeply when the air warms. A curious observation surfaces as you lie there. Despite the crowd, there is very little physical contact now. Earlier, Knees and elbows brushed constantly. In sleep, space becomes sacred. People curl inward, shrinking themselves. Even those sharing beds maintain careful distance, touching only where necessary. It is a quiet choreography, respected without instruction. There is an old assumption that medieval people were less sensitive to cold than we are. Some sources support this idea, pointing to thicker clothing and higher tolerance. Others argue that people felt cold just as sharply, but lacked alternatives. Lying here, you suspect the latter. Your toes ache faintly. Your nose feels cool. Endurance is not comfort. It is adaptation. A faint draft slides across the floor, carrying the smell of damp earth. You tuck your feet further under the blanket. This building breathes. Gaps in walls and doors allow air to move freely. Complete insulation was rare. Fresh air reduced smoke, but it also invited cold. Every architectural choice carried trade-offs. Someone nearby shifts suddenly, blanket rustling loudly. You tense instinctively, heart beating faster for a moment, then settle as the movement stops. This happens again and again. Each time your body reacts less, you are learning the language of the night. In the corner, a dog lifts its head briefly, ears pricked, and curls back into sleep. Animals often shared in spaces, both as warmth and as security. Their presence was normal, even expected. You find the soft rhythm of its breathing strangely calming. The fire pops softly. A spark arcs upward and dies before reaching the beams. No one reacts. This sound has become part of the background, a marker of safety rather than threat. You drift closer to sleep now, thoughts stretching and loosening. Images float up without context. The road behind you, faces at the table, the innkeeper's steady hands. They blur together, losing edges. Then a sharper awareness pulls you back, cold. Listening has become your primary sense. It tells you what matters and what does not. Footsteps cross the room slowly, careful not to stumble over sleeping bodies. Someone is moving toward the door, or perhaps toward the corner where the privy bucket sits. Night needs do not stop just because rest is scarce. People rise and return with minimal fuss, trained to navigate darkness by memory and instinct. A soft cough breaks the quiet near your feet. Another answers it farther away. These sounds feel intimate now, shared markers of vulnerability. No one complains. Illness is common. So is fatigue. Complaints waste energy. The smell of the room has changed slightly. The sharp edge of ale has dulled. Smoke lingers, but no longer thickens. What remains is the warm, sour scent of many bodies at rest. It is not pleasant, but it is familiar. Familiarity breeds calm. You shift your weight a little, testing how deeply sleep has settled into you. Your limbs feel heavy, as if gravity has increased overnight. This is the strange gift of exhaustion. It anchors you, making movement feel optional rather than urgent. A sudden laugh slices through the air, sharp and brief. It startles you despite yourself. Somewhere someone has dreamed something funny, or frightening, or absurd. The laugh fades quickly, replaced by embarrassed silence. Dreams spill into waking more easily in shared spaces. You sense rather than see that the fire has burned down to glowing coals. The room is cooler now. Cold creeps in slowly, touching exposed skin first. Your face feels it. Your hands, you tuck them closer to your body without opening your eyes. This stretch of the night is the longest. Before dawn, after distraction has faded. The body wants to sleep deeply, but the environment resists. You float instead, drifting in and out of shallow dreams. Images surface without warning. A road stretching endlessly forward. A table piled with bowls that never empty. Faces with blurred features. Speaking words you cannot quite hear. These are not narratives. They are fragments shaped by the day you have lived. You hear a faint whisper nearby. Two voices, low and careful. Someone has woken and chosen this moment to speak quietly, perhaps believing most others are asleep. Secrets are often shared at this hour. You do not strain to listen. Whatever they say belongs to them. There is a moment of stillness so complete that you almost believe morning has arrived early. Then the building shifts, wood contracting in the cold. The sound travels through the beams and settles into the floor. The inn reminds you it is alive too. People in this time slept differently than you are used to. The fire has dipped lower again. Heat withdraws, leaving pockets of chill. This is the hardest part of the night. The stretch before dawn. When fires are not renewed and bodies are too tired to compensate, you curl tighter, knees drawn up slightly. The straw beneath you compresses, offering less cushion than before. You adjust, seeking a better balance. Then give up and accept it. Acceptance comes easier now. Some travelers slept fully clothed for this reason, layering garments rather than removing them. Others loosened only what they must, conserving warmth. You choose the middle path, easing tight straps, but keeping most layers on. Sleep here is practical, not ceremonial. A subtle sound reaches you, distant but persistent. Wind outside, brushing against walls. The inn groans faintly in response, wood shifting with temperature changes. These sounds might alarm you elsewhere. Here, they feel oddly protective, like the building reminding you it is still standing. There are stories of inns haunted by travelers who never left. Whether these tales reflect genuine belief or serve as cautionary entertainment is unclear, lying here, surrounded by breath and warmth and faint creaks. You can imagine how such stories took hold. Darkness invites interpretation. Your breathing deepens again. The room fades slightly at the edges. You are not fully asleep, but you are no longer fully awake. This in-between space stretches longer than it would in silence. Noise anchors you, preventing the plunge. A hand reaches out nearby, groping briefly in the dark, then retreats. Someone checking their belongings. Someone waking from a half-dream. It happens without drama. Nighttime vigilance is quiet. You think briefly about how many nights like this shaped people's lives. Sleep fragmented, shared cautious dreams interrupted, rest earned in pieces. Modern expectations of deep, uninterrupted sleep would have seemed foreign here. That thought drifts away, unfinished. Your body sinks further into the straw. The blanket warms fully now, trapping what little heat remains. Your jaw relaxes, your shoulders drop. The fire glows faintly, embers pulsing like slow breaths. The inn holds steady around you. At last, sleep stops circling. It settles. You wake without fully waking. Something shifts in the room, and your body responds before your mind understands why. A bench scrapes softly. Straw rustles. A low voice murmurs, then fades. This is how the night moves here. Not in clean breaks, but in gentle disturbances that ripple outward and then disappear. Your eyes remain closed. That feels safer. Darkness behind your lids is easier to manage than the flickering half-light of dying embers. You listen instead. Morning sounds are different from night sounds. They are more deliberate. Someone clears their throat. Another person sits up slowly, joints cracking with quiet complaint. A boot scrapes against the floor, searching for its match. These noises carry purpose. The night tolerated rest. Morning demands movement. Your body resists at first. Muscles ache in unfamiliar places. The straw beneath you feels harder now, less forgiving. You shift carefully, testing what hurts and what does not. Your back protests, then settles. This is the price of rest taken wherever it can be found nearby. Someone yawns widely and makes no attempt to hide it. A ripple follows. Yawns are contagious. Even here, even now, fatigue binds you together one last time before the day pulls you apart. The innkeeper is already awake. You notice this without seeing them at first. It is in the way the room is being managed. A shutter opens slightly. A bucket is moved. A low voice murmurs instructions to someone younger. The machinery of the day begins quietly, practiced, and efficient. Morning in a medieval inn did not bring leisure. It brought urgency. Travelers wanted to leave early to make the most of daylight. The innkeeper wanted them gone in good order before tempers frayed and debts were questioned. There was a rhythm to departure shaped by long habit. You sit up slowly, blankets slipping from your shoulders. The cold hits immediately, sharp enough to make you hiss softly. You pull your cloak tighter around you. Sleeping in layers helped, but rising still hurts. You rub your hands together, breathing into them, trying to coax warmth back into stiff fingers. Light strengthens incrementally. Faces become clearer. You recognize a few from the night before. Others look different now, stripped of firelight and shadow. Everyone seems more ordinary in daylight, less mysterious, more human. A man near the door stands and stretches, arms raised, then bends to gather his things. He moves quickly, efficiently. This is not his first departure. He knows what matters. Pack, cloak, coin, purse. Everything else can wait. You do the same, reaching for your belongings and checking them by touch rather than sight. Packstrap, pouch, knife, all present. Relief settles in your chest. Loss in the night would have lingered far longer than discomfort. There is a smell of bread now, faint but unmistakable. The first rays of dawn slice through the grimy window pane, stirring me from a restless sleep. My back aches from the lumpy straw mattress, a familiar complaint for any traveler. Outside, the world is already coming to life. I can hear the distant clang of a blacksmith's hammer, the clatter of wagon wheels on cobblestones, and the cheerful chatter of the market folk setting up their stalls. The air in the room is thick with the scent of wood smoke, stale ale, and something vaguely like damp wool. Another day on the road begins. I sit up, stretch the stiffness from my bones, and glance at the small, worn leather pouch by my side. Enough coin for a hot meal and another night's lodging, hopefully somewhere a little softer. Time to face the day, whatever it may bring. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe for more journeys. Someone has set a small loaf near the fire, warming it slightly. Morning food in inns was often minimal, if it existed at all. Many travelers brought their own. Still, the scent lifts your spirits. Even a little sustenance makes the road feel less hostile. You watch as people approach the counter one by one. Some offer a coin. Some offer a nod. Some say nothing at all. Payment was not always exact, especially for those who slept on the floor. The understanding was flexible, shaped by custom rather than strict counting. There is an ongoing discussion among historians about whether morning meals were standard at inns or exceptional. Evidence varies by region and period. What seems clear is that expectations were modest. No one lingers in hope of comfort. Morning is about readiness, not pleasure. You take a small piece of bread when it is offered, accepting it with a quiet thanks. It is coarse, dense, and slightly stale. Perfect. It fills your mouth and steadies your stomach. You chew slowly, aware that this may be your last solid food for hours. Around you, conversations resume briefly, then fade. The stories of the night are over. Now come directions, warnings, and quick exchanges of information. A bridge ahead is damaged. A market opens late today. Rain is expected by afternoon. These details matter more than tailies now. Someone mentions the weather with a sigh. Cold mornings like this sap energy quickly. Travelers adjusted their plans accordingly, sometimes leaving later to let frost lift, sometimes leaving earlier to beat it. You consider your own route instinctively, even if you have not named it yet. The innkeeper moves among the departing guests, watchful but calm. Their role now is to clear the space, prepare for the next cycle. Beds, or rather straw, must be refreshed. Floors swept, fires rebuilt. The night leaves behind work. You stand fully now, feeling the pull of gravity return. Sleep has receded, leaving behind a dull ache and a sense of completion. You survived the night. That matters more than comfort. As you sling your pack over your shoulder, you catch a final glimpse of the room as it truly is. Not a refuge, not a danger, but a mechanism. It gathers people, warms them briefly, feeds them enough, then releases them back into motion. This is its purpose. A strange thought crosses your mind. For all its discomfort, the inn offered something rare. Witnesses. If something had gone wrong, someone would have seen. Someone would have remembered. That shared presence carried weight in a world where isolation was often deadly. You move toward the door with the others. Cold air leaks in as it opens, sharp and bracing. Outside, the road waits, pale and quiet. The sky has lightened enough to show its shape, though the sun remains hidden. You pause at the threshold for just a moment. Breathing in the outside air, it smells cleaner, thinner. You feel taller here, more alert. The inn has done its work. Behind you, the door closes again, muffling the sounds inside. Another night finished. Another set of travelers dispersed. You step forward, boots meeting the road, body stiff but capable. The day stretches ahead, uncertain but open. And as you walk away, the warmth of the night fades fully, leaving only memory and momentum. The road greets you with a kind of honesty the inn never offered. Cold air clears the last traces of smoke from your lungs, and your breath feels sharper, cleaner. Your muscles protest as you settle into motion again. Rest was partial. It always is. Still, movement comes easier than you expected. As if the night, for all its discomfort, did its quiet work. You walk for a while before fully waking. The rhythm of your steps carries you forward. Each footfall a reminder that you are alone again, or at least separate. The inn fades behind you quickly. Buildings like that recede from memory faster than the road itself. They are pauses, not destinations. As you move, your thoughts drift back to the night, not in a neat sequence, but in fragments. The warmth near the hearth, the weight of the blanket, voices overlapping, and then dissolving into breath and sleep. These memories cling briefly, then loosen as the morning asserts itself. You adjust your pack strap, feeling where it rubbed your shoulder during the night. A faint soreness remains. It will fade soon, replaced by the familiar ache of travel. You accept this without complaint. Discomfort is expected. It proves you are still moving. In this time, travelers often measured nights not by quality of sleep, but by outcomes. Did you wake with your belongings intact? Last night at the inn was rough. The mattress was basically a sack of straw, and the whole place smelled like damp wool and spilled ale. I didn't get much sleep. But you know what's funny? Out here on the road, it feels like all my senses are turned up to 11. I notice everything, the way the dust kicks up with each step, the particular call of a bird I've never heard before, the worn-out look in another traveler's eyes. It's like we all share this unspoken language of the road. My stomach tells me when it's time to stop, not a clock. The next village isn't a distance. It's just over that next hill. Every memory feels sharper, every moment more real. Maybe true rest isn't about a soft bed, but about the journey itself. The road ahead is long, but I feel ready for it. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the path. The road stretches on, an endless ribbon of mud and stone. Each dawn, I pull on my weary boots, the leather worn thin from countless leagues. My cloak, heavy with the morning dew, is a familiar comfort against the biting wind. The world unfolds before me with every step sun-drenched fields of gold, shadowy forests where ancient secrets whisper, and villages bustling with life I can only glimpse for a fleeting moment. Sometimes the loneliness is a heavy burden. My only companion is the rustling leaves and the distant cry of a hawk. But then I'll share a fire with a fellow wanderer, swapping tailies under a canopy of stars, and I'm reminded that we are all just travelers on our own grand journeys. This path is my life, and with the horizon as my destination, I walk on. Thanks for watching. Movement, pause, movement again. Life unfolds in these cycles. Last night's companions, their faces already blur, but their presence lingers. We shaped each other's rest without a word. Breathing synchronizes, vigilance spreads, comfort becomes communal. Modern writers paint medieval inns as either thrilling adventures or miserable dens. The truth, I suspect, sat quietly in between. They were functional, necessary, sometimes unpleasant, sometimes reassuring, just like most things meant to keep people moving. My stomach tightens, the stew a distant memory. I slow my pace to conserve energy, a familiar calculation that gives structure to the day. Out here, thoughts grow simple. Plans narrow to the next bend in the road, the next sip of water. Complexity is a luxury for cities and courts. Simplicity is survival. The memory of shared sleep returns. How strange at first to lie among strangers, and how normal it became. Privacy is a habit, not a necessity. Ahead lies another place to rest. Further still, longer stretches of solitude. Both have their price. You choose. The night at the inn didn't give you comfort, but it gave you continuity. It held you long enough to recover, just enough to move again. And that was its purpose. Rest doesn't need to be perfect. It just needs to be enough. By midday, the road feels different. The morning chill has lifted, and your body moves more freely, the stiffness from the straw bed fading. This is the trade. A difficult night buys you a functional day. The inn taught you patience, that even partial sleep is useful. You floated through the night, alert and resting at once, and that awareness follows you now. You notice details more quickly, recover your balance faster. You pass another traveler sharing a tired smile. No words are needed. The smile says enough. Thanks for watching. You both understand the need to pause without explanation. Further along, you encounter a small group walking together. They speak quietly, their conversation punctuated by laughter. You note how close they stand to one another, how their steps fall into rhythm. Companionship changes travel. Shared nights in inns often led to temporary alliances on the road. Safety increased with numbers. So did noise. You consider whether to fall in with them for a while. The thought passes, then dissolves. Solitude suits you today. The night was crowded enough. As the sun reaches its highest point, hunger returns with insistence. The bread from morning is long gone. You slow your pace slightly, conserving energy. You know from experience that pushing through hunger leads to mistakes. A twisted ankle, a missed turn. The night taught you caution. The road reinforces it. You find a spot near a tree and sit, resting your back against its trunk. The bark is rough and cool. You close your eyes for a moment, letting the warmth seep in. This rest is different from the inn. Quiet, voluntary. You could sleep here if you wished, but you choose not to. Rest comes in many forms. While you sit, your mind drifts back to the shared sleeping space. The way bodies arrange themselves instinctively, the way sound became a blanket of its own. You realize how much trust it required, even if it was unspoken. Trust in the innkeeper. Trust in the crowd. Trust that vigilance would be enough. There are records of travelers complaining bitterly about nights spent in inns of lice, of noise, of theft. There are also records of gratitude, of warmth offered during storms, of lives saved by shelter found just in time. The truth of inns lies in these contradictions. They were imperfect solutions to constant movement. You open your eyes and watch leaves stir above you. Sunlight filters through shifting patterns on the ground. You think about how rarely medieval people experienced true silence. Even here, birds call, wind moves. In the inn, sound was human and constant. Out here it is broader, less demanding. You rise and continue, feeling steadier for the pause. Your steps fall into rhythm again. Each mile brings subtle changes. The road surface shifts. The smell of the air changes slightly. You pass through invisible boundaries shaped by land use and local habit. As afternoon deepens, fatigue creeps back in. Quieter this time. Not the sharp exhaustion of night, but a slow drain. You accept it. This is expected. The night was never meant to restore you fully. It was meant to reset you just enough. You begin to think ahead again. Where might you sleep tonight? Another inn, perhaps, or a farmhouse willing to offer space for a small coin or a sheltered spot by the road. You weigh options without anxiety. Planning has become part of your walking. The memory of the innkeeper returns briefly. Their steady movements, their careful balance of warmth and restraint. You realize how much responsibility rested on that role to host strangers without knowing their intentions to manage fire, food, and conflict through long nights. Inns were not passive spaces. They required constant attention. You feel a flicker of appreciation for that labor, unexpected and brief. Without it, the road would be harsher, more dangerous. Even flawed shelter matters. The sun begins its slow descent, though it still feels early. Light changes, growing softer. Shadows lengthen. You adjust your pace again, aware that daylight is finite. The night ahead will demand its own preparation. You walk on, carrying the lessons of straw and smoke and shared breath. The inn has already receded into the past, but its imprint remains in your posture, your patience, your awareness. When evening comes, you will seek shelter again. And when you lie down, wherever that may be, you will remember how to rest without surrendering. By late afternoon, the world begins to tilt gently toward evening. The sun lowers just enough to soften the air, and shadows stretch across the road like long fingers pointing forward. You feel the shift before you see it. The day exhales, and with it, your energy thins into something more fragile. Your pace slows without conscious decision. Each step still lands true, but there is less urgency behind it. The night at the inn has already shaped this moment. You know better than to rush into darkness unprepared. Shelter is not something you look for when the light is gone. It is something you secure while you still can. You scan the landscape more deliberately now. A cluster of trees might block wind. A rise in the land could offer drainage if rain comes. Smoke in the distance suggests habitation. And where people gather, shelter often follows. You weigh these signs carefully, the way you learn to read the inn before entering it. Fatigue settles deeper into your legs. It is not painful, just persistent. The road asks more of you than it did this morning. Your shoulders feel heavier beneath your pack. You loosen the straps slightly, redistributing weight, and feel immediate relief. These small adjustments matter more as the day wanes. You pass a small stream again and pause to drink. This time you drink slowly, savoring the coolness. You rinse your hands and face, washing away sweat and dust. The water wakes you briefly, sharpening your focus. Cleanliness is fleeting on the road, but moments like this feel restorative. As you move on, you begin to hear distant sounds that signal evening. A dog barking far off, a hammer striking wood in measured rhythm. These are signs of people settling in for the night. You are not alone in preparing. The entire landscape shifts together. Your thoughts return uninvited to the shared sleeping space of the inn. How odd it felt to surrender personal boundaries so completely. How quickly it became normal. That experience has altered your expectations. You no longer imagine sleep as a private ritual. You imagine it as a negotiation with space, sound and circumstance. You wonder how often medieval travelers slept alone at all. Households were crowded, inns were communal. Even barns and sheds often held animals. Solitude was rare. Perhaps privacy was not missed because it was never promised. The light dims further, and the road ahead begins to lose detail. Colors flatten. Distance becomes harder to judge. You increase your attention, placing each foot with care. Fatigue invites mistakes, and mistakes near dusk can carry into the night. You crest a low hill and stop. Below, you see a small settlement. A handful of buildings clustered together. Smoke curls lazily upward. Relief spreads through you. Subtle, but real. You have options now. As you descend, you think about what kind of rest you want tonight. Another inn would offer warmth and noise. A farmhouse might offer quieter space, but only if welcomed. There is also the possibility of sheltering on the edge of the settlement, finding cover without intrusion. Each choice carries its own risks and comforts. You remember how the innkeeper managed the night, balancing generosity with caution. That balance applies here too. Arriving too late invites suspicion. Arriving too early invites obligation. Timing matters. As you approach the outskirts, you slow further, adopting a posture that signals fatigue, but not desperation. Appear too strong, and you seem unnecessary. Appear too weak, and you seem like a burden. These judgments happen quickly, often unconsciously. You pass a field where animals are being gathered, guided by quiet voices and steady hands. Evening routines are underway. The smell of earth and hay fills the air. You breathe it in, grounding yourself. The memory of straw beneath your back returns, and with it the knowledge that comfort is relative. A clean patch of ground with cover from wind might be enough. The inn taught you that rest does not require perfection. It requires acceptance. You reach the edge of the settlement and pause, observing light glows in a few windows. Others remain dark. You listen for sounds of activity, laughter, cooking, movement. These details guide your next step. As you stand there, you feel the day finally catch up with you. Not all at once, but in waves. Your feet ache. Your neck stiffens. You roll your shoulders gently, easing tension. The thought of lying down anywhere grows more appealing by the minute. You think again of the shared breathing in the inn, the way sleep came slowly but stayed. That memory steadies you. You know what to expect now. Noise will not surprise you. Cold will not shock you. You have learned how to rest lightly. There is a debate among historians about whether repeated exposure to such nights built resilience or simply wore people down faster. The answer likely varies. Some adapted, some broke. Walking no. You feel closer to adaptation, not because the night was kind, but because it was survivable. You choose a path toward a building that looks like it might offer shelter, perhaps an inn, perhaps a communal hall. You approach without haste, giving yourself time to read the situation. Even if it does not work out, there will be other options. The sky deepens in color, shifting toward blue and gray. Birds settle. The air cools again. You pull your cloak tighter, grateful for its weight. Whatever happens next, you know this much. The night ahead will be shaped by the night before. You carry lessons forward, not as memories, but as habits. How to lie down without fear. How to wake without surprise. How to share space without resentment. You step forward, ready to negotiate rest once more. You reach the edge of the settlement, just as the last warmth of the day slips away. The air cools noticeably, pressing against your skin with renewed insistence. Evening does not fall suddenly here. It settles, layer by layer, and you feel each one. Your pace slows further, guided less by distance and more by instinct. You pause again, letting your eyes adjust. The buildings ahead are simple, low, practical, nothing ornate, nothing inviting in the way stories promise. But there is shelter here, and that matters. A faint smell of cooking drifts through the air, mixed with smoke and damp earth. Your stomach responds immediately, reminding you how thin the day's food has become. You take a few careful steps forward, boots sounding louder than you would like on packed ground. Sound travels differently at dusk. People notice it. You are aware of yourself now in a way you were not at midday. A moving shape against stillness. A presence that must be read and judged. A door opens somewhere to your left. Light spills out briefly, warm and yellow. and narrows as someone steps into the threshold. They glance in your direction, not alarmed, just curious. You lower your gaze slightly, a gesture that signals fatigue rather than threat. These small cues matter more than words. You think again of the inn the night before, how entering was not simply physical, but social. The same rule applies here. You are asking silently to be allowed near rest. The answer depends on timing, demeanor, and luck. You move closer to the building that seems most likely to welcome travelers. Its door is sturdy. Its walls show signs of frequent use. There is a worn patch of ground nearby where many feet have passed. This is not a private home. This is a place accustomed to strangers. Your body tightens slightly as you approach. Fatigue and caution coexist now. You remind yourself that even if this door remains closed, the night is manageable. You have learned that already. Before you can knock, the door opens wider. A face appears lit from below by firelight. Not the innkeeper from last night, but someone similar in posture, watchful, appraising. They take in your pack, your stance, your expression. You greet them simply. No long explanation, no apology. Words are brief at this hour. You ask for a place to rest. The request is plain, stripped of expectation. There is a pause, not long, but long enough for you to feel it. The person considers. You stand still, hands relaxed, eyes steady. Desperation would hurt your chances. Confidence would seem arrogant. You aim for balance. At last, they nod and step aside. The door opens fully. Warmth spills out, carrying with it familiar smells, smoke, food, human presence. Relief moves through you, quiet but unmistakable. You step inside and feel the day finally begin to loosen its hold. This space is smaller than the inn you left behind, but the logic is the same. Shared warmth, shared air, shared expectation of endurance. The room holds only a few people. They look up briefly, then return to what they were doing. You are noticed and absorbed. This is the rhythm of such places. New arrivals ripple through the space, then settle. You remove your pack carefully and place it where it will not block movement. You have learned that courtesy here is physical, not verbal. You take the space you are given and no more. The person who admitted you gestures toward a spot near the wall. Straw again, a blanket. If one is available, no promises. You nod in thanks. Gratitude is shown by compliance. As you lower yourself to the floor, the ache in your legs deepens briefly, then eases. Sitting still feels harder than walking now. Your body hums with the residue of motion. You let it fade gradually. The room is quieter than the inn, but not silent. A low conversation continues near the fire. Someone stirs a pot slowly. The sound is rhythmic and calming. You realize how much these noises signal safety. Silence would feel unnatural. You listen without intruding. The voices speak of ordinary things. A neighbor's illness, a repair that must be done tomorrow. News of a market farther down the road. These are not stories meant to impress. They are the fabric of daily survival. Have you ever just stopped and listened? I mean, really listened. Not to the traffic or the TV, but to the quiet hum of the world around you. The other day, I was sitting by my window, just watching the leaves dance in the wind, and it hit me. In our rush to get everything done, we forget to just be. We forget to notice the little things, like the way the sunlight paints patterns on the floor, or the sound of our own breathing. These quiet moments aren't empty. They're full of peace, clarity, and a chance to reconnect with ourselves. It's like finding a hidden pause button for life. So next time you have a spare minute, try it. Just sit, breathe, and listen. You might be surprised by what you hear. Thanks for watching, and if this resonated with you, consider subscribing for more moments of reflection. The first light of dawn filters through the thin curtains, gently waking me up. There's a soft murmur from the common room below, the clinking of porcelain, the smell of freshly brewed coffee. This is the quiet magic of a traveler's inn. I head down for a simple breakfast, just some toast and jam, but it feels like a feast. Across the room, a lone backpacker scribbles in a journal, while a family quietly discusses their plans for the day. Each of us is on our own path, yet for this brief moment, our journeys intersect. It's in these quiet, shared spaces that you really feel the pulse of the road. With a warm cup in hand, I look out the window, wondering what new adventures this day will bring. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe for more moments from the road. That feels acceptable. Nights like the one before teach flexibility. Certainty can wait. As you finish eating, you pack your things carefully. Each movement is deliberate. You have learned that haste invites mistakes. The inn taught you that lesson first. When fumbling in the dark risked detention or loss, here in Carmelite, the lesson remains. You stand fully and test your balance. The floor feels solid. Your legs feel capable. There is a quiet satisfaction in this simple check. You are ready to move again. The person who welcomed you last night offers a nod as you pass. No words, no expectation of thanks. Shelter was given. Shelter was used. The exchange is complete. You return the nod, feeling the simplicity of it settle comfortably in your chest. Outside, the morning air greets you with cool clarity. It is colder than the room you leave behind, but fresher. You breathe deeply, filling your lungs until the last traces of smoke fall away. The sky above is pale and open. The day stretches forward. You pause just beyond the doorway, adjusting your pack, letting your eyes travel across the landscape. Roads split and rejoin here. Paths worn by countless feet extend in several directions. You choose one without ceremony. Choice feels lighter now. As you walk, you realize how the nights you have spent shape the way you move. Your steps are quieter, your awareness wider. You do not rush to fill silence with thought. You let it exist. There is a sense of continuity that follows you. The inn, the smaller shelter, different spaces, same purpose. They held you when movement was no longer possible. They returned you to yourself, just enough to continue. This pattern repeats across lives and centuries. Rarely celebrated, always necessary. You pass a small cluster of trees and notice signs of previous travelers. Flattened grass, a ring of stones where a fire once burned. Someone slept here once, perhaps avoiding an inn, perhaps unable to find one. The road offers many kinds of rest, if you know how to accept them. Your pace settles naturally, not hurried, not sluggish. You move in rhythm with your breath. The road responds, offering firm ground and gentle curves. This mutual understanding feels earned. As the sun climbs, warmth returns gradually. You loosen your cloak again, letting heat escape. The cold of night fades into memory. Useful, but no longer pressing. You carry its lessons forward without carrying its weight. You think briefly of the people still behind you, waking more slowly, preparing to tend fires or fields. Their days will be different from yours. but no less shaped by shared nights and practical rest. Movement and stillness balance one another across the landscape. You know what you need to keep going. That knowledge quiets unnecessary worry. The road opens wider ahead. Sunlight cooling in shallow dips. You step into it willingly, feeling strength return with each stride. Hunger will come again. Fatigue will follow. Another night will require negotiation. But you have learned how to meet those moments. For now the morning belongs to you. And you walk on, steady and unburdened, carrying rest, not as memory, but as momentum. As the day unfolds, you begin to notice how sleep, even fragmented and shared, reshapes your inner rhythm. Your thoughts feel steadier now, less pulled by urgency. The road no longer presses you forward with insistence. Instead, it invites you to move at a pace that feels sustainable, almost conversational. The action feels grounding rather than anxious. Habit has replaced worry. The night taught you to trust preparation. A small pot warms near the fire. The flame is modest, controlled, just enough to bring life back into the room. The smell that rises is thin but reassuring. Warm water, perhaps with a trace of grain left from the evening before. It will wake your body gently, not weigh it down. You accept a bowl when it is offered. Nodding in thanks, the heat seeps into your palms, easing the last chill from sleep. You sip slowly, letting the warmth spread inward. There is no conversation yet. Morning words come after the body agrees to be awake. As light strengthens, the room reveals itself more clearly. Marks on the walls, repairs layered over repairs. This place has been shaped by countless nights like the one you just passed through. Travelers arrived tired, left capable, and made room for the next. There is a quiet respect in how people move around one another. You wait without impatience when space narrows. You step aside instinctively when someone stretches. These behaviors feel natural now. Shared rest has taught you how to exist among others without friction. Someone near the door speaks softly about the road ahead. A section has grown muddy. A stream farther on runs higher than usual. The information is passed without drama. Practical knowledge matters more than story in the morning. You listen and adjust your expectations. Perhaps you will slow later. Perhaps you will seek higher ground. The night has trained you to remain flexible. Plans exist to be shaped by circumstance. When you finish your bowl, you rinse it with a small splash of water and set it aside. The gesture feels respectful, though no one demands it. Courtesy here is quiet and mutual. You stand fully and feel the room release you. The straw no longer pulls at your clothing. The floor feels solid beneath your feet. You roll your shoulders once more, then slip your pack into place. The weight settles comfortably, familiar rather than burdensome. As you move toward the door, the person who welcomed you the night before meets your eyes and nods. No words are exchanged. None are needed. Shelter was given. Shelter was used. The exchange is complete. Outside, the air greets you with cool clarity. The sky is pale, touched with early light. Clouds drift slowly, thin enough to promise brightness later. You inhale deeply, letting the air clear your lungs. You pause just beyond the threshold, taking a moment to orient yourself. The road lies ahead, quiet and open. You feel no urgency to fill the silence. The day will speak soon enough. As you begin walking, you notice how different this morning feels from the one after the inn. There is less noise echoing in your mind, less residue from the night. The smaller shelter offered a steadier rest, and your body reflects that. You think briefly about how nights in inns shaped medieval travel as a whole. Inns were not destinations. They were hinges. They allowed movement to continue. They made distance possible. Without them, roads would have been shorter, journeys rarer, connections thinner. This understanding gives you a broader sense of context as you walk. You are part of a long chain of movement, supported by structures designed not for comfort, but for continuity. That continuity carries quiet power. The road curves gently, leading you past fields and low hedges. Morning activity begins around you. Animals are guided out. Tools are lifted and set down. Life resumes its steady pace. You move among it without disruption. Your stride settles quickly. Breath and movement align. This alignment feels earned. It is the result of nights spent learning how to rest without retreating completely from awareness. You pass a familiar marker in the road and recognize it from an earlier journey. Recognition brings comfort. This pattern has become familiar, almost comforting. As you walk, you reflect on how much has changed since that first night at the inn. Not in the world around you, but in how you meet it. The noise that once demanded attention now fades into background texture. Shared spaces that once felt intrusive now feel functional. You have learned how to be present without being overwhelmed. You notice how easily your thoughts drift now, unburdened by constant calculation. When hunger comes, you acknowledge it. When fatigue stirs, you respond early. You no longer push until something breaks. You adjust. That adjustment is the quiet skill the nights have taught you. The memory of the inn returns one last time, not sharply, but with a soft clarity. The crowded room, the uneven warmth, the sounds of breathing layered together in the dark. You realize that what once felt uncomfortable now feels instructive. It showed you how people endured not through isolation, but through proximity, not through perfect rest, but through shared endurance. You understand now that medieval inns were not meant to offer escape. They offered continuity, a pause that allowed life to keep moving. Roads connected because inns existed. Journeys succeeded because people accepted imperfect rest and learned how to live with it. This realization settles into you quietly as the road bends ahead. You feel a sense of closure, not because the journey ends here, but because the lesson has been learned. You know how to sleep on straw. You know how to wake among strangers. You know how to step back into the road without resentment. As the day stretches onward, you slow just slightly, not from fatigue, but from awareness. There is no need to rush. The rhythm you carry will sustain you. Another night will come when it comes. Another shelter will present itself when needed. For now, you walk. The world feels steady beneath your feet. The sky opens above you. Your breath moves easily in your chest. You are not chasing rest anymore. You are carrying it with you. Built from experience rather than comfort, the road continues. Patient and unchanged, you move forward with it, confident in your ability to meet whatever night arrives next. And gradually, without effort, your thoughts begin to soften. The road becomes less distinct. The air feels warmer. Your body remembers how to slow, how to release attention without losing awareness. The memory of firelight flickers gently, then fades. The sound of footsteps grows quieter. You are no longer walking now. You are resting. The images thin out. Sensation fades to warmth and weight. Breath becomes slow and even. The world feels safe, held at a comfortable distance. You imagine lying down once more, not on straw this time, but on something softer, quieter. The lessons remain, but the effort dissolves. You do not need to watch anymore. You do not need to prepare. The night is kind here. Your shoulders relax fully. Your jaw loosens. Your breathing deepens. Each exhale carries away what little tension remains. You feel supported, unhurried, complete. There is nothing left to decide, nothing left to plan. Just rest. Let the road fade. Let the inns fade. Let the fire dim gently in your memory. You are safe. You are warm. You have walked far enough for today. Sleep comes easily now, not as something earned, but as something allowed. And as you drift into it, held by calm and quiet understanding, the world settles with you. Sweet dreams.